Keanu Reeves breaks silence on new Pope Robert Prevost. What he revealed live is stunning. Before we go further, please ensure to like, share, and subscribe for more interesting stories like this one. The hum of studio lights buzzed faintly as laughter faded and applause settled. Keanu Reeves, dressed in a sharp black suit, sat with relaxed posture across from the seasoned host. For most of the conversation, the tone had been light. Movies, motorcycles, and quiet moments of philosophy that fans had come to expect from the famously introspective star. But then the host shifted, leaning forward just slightly. "So, have you been following the Vatican's new developments?" A flicker crossed Keanu's face. His smile dimmed, not out of discomfort, but reflection. He folded his hands slowly, then lifted his eyes, letting a few seconds stretch into silence. "I've been watching Pope Robert Prevost very closely," he said, voice even, eyes distant. A soft murmur rippled through the audience. The shift in the room was immediate. The host, sensing something meaningful had just been offered, gave no interruption. He simply nodded, inviting more. "There's something different about him," Keanu continued, measured and sincere. "He doesn't just speak with authority, he holds space with presence. There's a calm about him, a gravity. Most leaders fill a room by talking. He fills it by listening." The host blinked, surprised. "You've really thought about this?" Keanu gave a short smile. "I think about people who carry peace, not just preach it. This Pope, he seems like he's trying to lead without ego. That's rare." The studio, normally charged with live energy, seemed suspended in thought. This wasn't a scripted moment or a PR line. It was raw, personal. A few images of Pope Robert Prevost flashed on screen, contrasting papal ceremonies with candid moments, visiting refugees, walking unguarded through crowds, speaking softly with children and strangers alike. His eyes always seemed to be studying the soul, not the spectacle. The host cleared his throat, searching for the right tone. "You see something deeper?" Keanu nodded once. "He reminds me that real power doesn't shout. It whispers, it listens, and it endures." The camera panned gently across the studio audience. No one moved. No one clapped. They just listened. Keanu shifted in his seat, as if the moment had surprised even him. "I don't know where it's going," he admitted. "But I think, sometimes the world needs an anchor. Not in politics. In conscience." That was all. The moment passed, the conversation drifted back to lighter fare. But something lingered in the air, an echo of reverence, unexpected and moving. Within hours, clips from the interview flooded social media. Headlines speculated. Comment sections buzzed. Fans and skeptics alike asked the same question. Why would a movie star like Keanu Reeves speak about the Pope with such weight? The answer wasn't in what he said. It was in how he said it. And perhaps who he said it about. Long before the world knew his name, Robert Prevost walked unpaved roads in Peru as a young missionary, far from the ornate marble halls of the Vatican. Archival footage shows him smiling beside villagers, tending to wounded hands and listening more than speaking. His cassock was often dusty, his Spanish fluent, and his heart immersed in service. There was no press, no titles, only quiet conviction and a rare humility that etched itself into those who met him. A grainy clip rolls, he's younger, addressing a modest crowd. His voice carries steady resolve, not thunder. Even then, his presence hinted at something deeper. The years pass in seconds. Scenes of him teaching, writing, and defending the vulnerable flash by. His rise through the church wasn't powered by ambition, but by consistency. Not the loud kind of leadership, but the kind that stays when cameras leave. Then comes the moment of appointment. Pope Robert Prevost steps onto the world stage. Cameras flash, reporters clamor, but his gaze remains inward. Instead of grand proclamations, he speaks of mercy. Instead of grandeur, he calls for reform. His appeal surprises everyone, especially the younger generation. TikToks, Reels, and forum threads light up with interest. Not just Catholics, but seekers, skeptics, and dreamers are drawn to him. He seems to speak their language, not in slang or style, but in sincerity. The screen fades from black and white to color, and we're back in the studio. Keanu Reeves sits across from the host, visibly moved by what they just witnessed. "It's not just religion," Keanu says softly. "It's energy." The room goes still again. The way he carries silence, the way he looks at people, it's magnetic. The host leans back, unsure of how to respond. The audience mirrors his stillness, caught between reverence and curiosity. This wasn't a press piece or promotional fluff. It was a reflection, one artist speaking on another kind of presence. Keanu's expression remains thoughtful. Some people walk into a room and they pull the spotlight. Others become the room. He's that second kind. The footage overlays Keanu's words. Clips of Pope Prevost embracing refugees, kneeling beside terminal patients, laughing quietly with street children. His eyes always soft. His gestures deliberate. It's not performance. It's authenticity. You think he's redefining leadership? The host finally asks. Keanu nods slowly. Not redefining. Reminding. There's a pause. No applause. No banter. Just understanding. The segment closes with a lingering image. Pope Robert Prevost in silhouette, standing alone in St. Peter's Square at dawn. Head bowed, not to be seen, but to listen. This wasn't a story of power claimed. It was a story of presence felt. By sunrise the next morning, the internet had already caught fire. The clip of Keanu Reeves speaking about Pope Robert Prevost had spread like a lit match on dry leaves. 10 seconds of stillness, one soft-spoken line about presence, and suddenly, timelines were ablaze. The moment, quiet in the studio, became thunder online. Twitter fed first. A post reading, Keanu just called the Pope magnetic. We are not the same. Racked up over 1 million views in an hour. TikTok stitched the clip with fan edits of both men, Keanu in slow motion walking out of John Wick, Pope Prevost washing the feet of refugees, with ethereal music underscoring the unlikely union. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag Keanu and the Pope. Hashtag Holy Reeves. Hashtag Magnetic Grace. Comment sections debated not the theology, but the sincerity. Some believed Keanu had always been a quiet believer. Others joked he'd been cast in a Vatican biopic. Yet amid the memes and irony-laced posts, a deeper thread took hold: curiosity. Why did this moment land so hard? Why did one actor's thoughts on a pope stir millions? On a live stream, an interfaith panel dissected the impact. A media analyst explained, when someone like Keanu, whose image is globally loved and rarely polarizing, speaks about a religious figure without agenda, it feels safe to listen. Another panelist, a Jesuit scholar, added, it's not just what Keanu said. It's how he said it. Thoughtfully. Without spectacle. And that resonates. A former Vatican communications advisor joined the feed from Rome. Let's be honest, he said. The Vatican doesn't often trend outside of scandals or ceremonies. But now, it's trending because Keanu Reeves saw something sacred in Pope Prevost. His words carry an unexpected weight. Not because he's a theologian, but because he's trusted. News outlets jumped on board. Reeves sparks religious curiosity, one headline read. Another posed the question bluntly, is Keanu a secret Catholic? Most stories, though, didn't dig for dogma. They explored alignment, why these two men, seemingly worlds apart, shared something the public could feel. Clips continued to flood feeds. Duets, reactions, commentary. Even prominent influencers in wellness, politics, and entertainment chimed in. One vlogger summed it up in a widely shared video. You don't need to be religious to recognize humility. Keanu sees it in the Pope, and now we're seeing it too. The segment drew to a close with a quiet visual, a split-screen image. On the left, Keanu's profile from the interview, stoic, introspective. On the right, Pope Prevost gazing down from the balcony during his first Easter blessing. No words, just eyes that carried stories. One silent, one sacred, both watched by the world. The noise of the internet fades. We shift to a still garden, shaded by olive trees. A narrow path winds through clipped grass and stone benches. Keanu Reeves walks alone, hands in his pockets, shoulders relaxed but thoughtful. The sun, dappled through the leaves, cast shifting patterns at his feet. A voiceover begins, soft, even-paced. In a noisy world, Keanu says, I respect those who hold space for stillness. He pauses to watch a butterfly land on a nearby flower. Pope Robert Prevost is doing that. His words aren't scripted, not performed. They drift, like leaves caught on a breeze, quiet but impossible to ignore. This isn't part of a press tour or a media stunt. There are no flashing cameras, no eager hosts waiting for the next headline. Just silence, broken only by birdsong and reflection. As Keanu continues to walk, his voice overlays footage from past interviews, fragments of conversations from years ago, almost prophetic in hindsight. He speaks about presence, the mystery of human connection, and his belief in the unseen forces that bind people across time and distance. "I don't follow doctrines," he once said, "but I believe in depth and grace, even when it doesn't announce itself." Another clip, older still, shows him pausing when asked about religion. "I think kindness is sacred," he answers, smiling slightly. In the present, the camera lingers on his face. He isn't preaching. He's remembering. What becomes clear in this quiet interlude is that his mention of Pope Prevost wasn't a celebrity endorsement. It was resonance. An actor known for his internal world had recognized something rare in a leader known for his quiet reform. The parallels emerged subtly. Prevost, the Pope from Peru, who began as a missionary on dusty roads, and Keanu, the actor-turned-reluctant philosopher, both carry themselves with stillness, not from detachment, but from depth. Neither chases headlines. Neither needs to speak loudly to be heard. The audience, now tuned into this slower rhythm, begins to feel it. This wasn't just a story about fame brushing against faith. It was about two men, deeply private in a public world, converging for a fleeting moment through a shared understanding of presence. Back in the garden, Keanu sits on a low stone wall. He glances up, the light soft on his features. "You don't need to shout," he says. Sometimes, standing still says more. The camera pulls back slowly, the trees whispering overhead. There is no applause, no crescendo, just calm. A quiet man reflecting on another. And somewhere across the world, in a different kind of garden enclosed by Vatican walls, another man might be doing the same. The studio lights dim subtly as the final moments unfold. The atmosphere, once energetic and fast-paced, has settled into something quieter, more reflective. The host leans slightly forward in his chair, his usual performative polish softened by the weight of the conversation. "You've just changed how a lot of people see the Pope," he says, voice steady but touched by something deeper. Keanu Reeves offers a small, knowing smile, not triumphant, not dismissive, just present. "Maybe I just reminded them to look," he replies, almost in a whisper. A pause lingers in the space between them, and the audience remains respectfully silent. There's nothing more to add. No punchline. No final scoop. The exchange feels more like a shared understanding than an interview conclusion. The screen gently fades to black. A soft, minimalist score begins to play, piano notes falling like distant raindrops. Over the darkness, a narrator's voice emerges, not announcing, but reflecting. Two men, one in cinema, one in faith, and one unexpected connection that made the world pause. As the music swells, images from earlier in the story flicker softly across the screen. The quiet garden. Pope Robert Prevost addressing a small crowd with open hands. Keanu walking alone beneath olive branches. The talk show studio lit like a modern-day confessional. Their paths never crossed in person, yet somehow intersected through something more elusive, an alignment of presence, purpose, and quiet conviction. The end credits begin to roll slowly, names fading in and out like breaths. Then a single line remains on screen, held longer than the rest. "What do you see in silence?" No dramatic sound, no fanfare, just that question. A nudge to the viewer, an invitation to reflect, not react. Back in the world outside the screen, people sit still for a moment longer. Some reach for their phones. Others just breathe. And somewhere in the subtle stillness, something has shifted. Not dramatically, but unmistakably. If you enjoyed this story, ensure to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing, heartfelt stories like this. Also, let us know where you are watching from, and drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you think of Keanu Reeves' reflection on Pope Robert Prevost? Did his words change your perspective? This unexpected connection between a Hollywood icon and the new Pope sparked something much bigger than an interview. We'd love to hear how it resonated with you. Don't miss what's coming next. More stories where unlikely moments lead to powerful conversations that make the world pause and reflect.